Before I start my presentation, please say the following with me. Hello, Kenji.
Hello, Kenji.
Hey. Okay. So let's get started. What are we accomplishing today? Debunking the myths associated with autistic people. We're going to define what it is, but I'm not a doctor, so I have a video for that. And presenting life story with autism. And the more crowd says more. So we will definitely have a lot more. So to tell about myself a bit more, I was born on August 27, 1998 at Jefferson Hospital. I'm a Philly boy, so hey, of course I would know where I was born. So when my parents discovered that I was a boy that came out of my mom's whatnot, so my mom actually threw a big party afterwards, but a few days later after the party, she got a phone call from the Jefferson Hospital. The phone call was about me being diagnosed with a form of autism called PDD-NOS, pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. And my parents were shocked as she found out that there were not many resources for me out there at the time, so it was very shocking for her. She was devastated. But despite these shortcomings, I was able to, fit in just like everyone else. But I tried to be an individual. So I want to show you these 3 photos of myself. Sorry for the hashtag TBT, it was a throwback. So, this was me when I was 3 years old. I went to a special education daycare, and I had to, one of my accommodations was a picture book, and that picture book had things that I wanted, like to go to the bathroom, drink milk, eat food. Since I was 3 years old, one of the symptoms of autism is delay in communication skills. So I wasn't really able to talk. And even if I was able to talk, I only could speak a few sentences. And then a few years later, this when like I started to distinguish myself from, I want to say, like my fellow people who are autistic. I started to, invest more in my academics and socialize with more people. I was actually in Troop 1041 for, Boy Scouts until I quit. And then this resulted into me right now, an Asian American who is doing crap load AP level courses and has an 85 average, Second on. I'm not bad. So let's get. So here's another personal photo of myself. My dad is smiling, and here's my sister. My mom, she was sleeping during the years, And this photo is symbolic to my personality because I feel like I've kind of accomplished a lot in my past, and this is one of my accomplishments in the past, well, more of the recent past. As you can see in the Multicultural Festival Day, I actually beat a lot of people, yes. So that's why I'm the chopstick champion. So let's be serious. So what is autism? Defined in many points within the autism spectrum. This is the one that I have, PDD-NOS. It's a form of autism that is kind of like the mysterious one. Oh, what is it? Well, I can tell you for sure that you could have each symptom from a different form of autism. So you could have a symptom of Asperger's where you actually act kind of like too mature, while also delay in social skills, and classic autism. So as you can see in this diagram, I'm punching autism. Yeah, this is where I start debunking the myths. But first, a video.
Do you know somebody with autism? Autism is much, much more common than most people think. About 1 in 100 people have autism. That's more than 700,000 in the UK alone. So chances are that someone you know, or work with, or love has the condition. What is autism? Autism is a lifelong developmental disability that affects how we communicate with and relate to others, and it affects how we make sense of the world around us. Lots of things that people take for granted, like body language and metaphors, can be confusing and alienating for us. Autism is a spectrum condition, so that whilst we all share certain difficulties, our autism will affect us in different ways. Some of us have been to university and hold down jobs, whilst others need a lifetime of specialist support. Asperger's syndrome is a form of autism. People with Asperger's syndrome are often of average or above average intelligence. They have fewer problems with speech, but may still have difficulties with understanding and processing language. What is autism like? For us, the world can be a confusing mass of people, events, and places. Sometimes we struggle to make sense of the world, and this can make us anxious. Every person with autism is different. That's what makes it so difficult to understand. But some of the characteristics that we have include a love of routines, sensory issues such as noises or smells or light, and having special interests. Some of us experience difficulties in understanding and relating to other people, and having a social life can be that much harder for us. For some of us, for example, going to a party can be really hard because we don't know what's going to happen or who will be there, and it often gets too noisy, which can be upsetting. Other people with autism have trouble reading facial expressions, understanding jokes or sarcasm, or common phrases like break a leg. Even phrases people use every day like it's cool can be disorientating. You think they're asking you to turn the air conditioning off. Many people with autism don't look disabled. Parents of children with autism often say that people simply think their child is naughty, while we adults find that we are misunderstood. That is why it is called a hidden disability. What causes autism? The exact cause of autism is still being investigated, but research suggests that a combination of factors, genetic and environmental, may account for changes in brain development. Autism is not caused by a person's upbringing, but their social circumstances. Is there a cure? There is no cure for autism, but there are interventions that enable learning and development which may be helpful. You can find out more by going to www.org.
We're going to stop the video here since that information after that is irrelevant. Sorry for boring the crap out of you guys, but I feel like by presenting this video will be very important for my presentation. So, myth 1. Vaccines causes autism. Yeah, my rubella vaccine gave my son autism. No, it doesn't work like that. As you can see, vaccines deliver dead cells to your immune system, which it needs to build up its immunities. However, this guy named Andrew Wakefield, he has done some researches to prove that theory is true. However, he has done these researches illegally, and even though these children don't have autism, and he just spots out any symptoms that correlate to autism, like, for example, if a kid doesn't talk or just acts bored, he thinks, oh, they're autistic. Fact checked. So, antibody stimulating proteins and I'm not good with biology. Do not increase the autism. At least I'm somewhat good in biology. Congratulations. The mercury-based preservatives contains ethyl mercury, which easily dissipates in the human body. So ethyl mercury, did anyone take AP in Wi-Sci or biology? Raise their hand. Okay. So if you know what ethyl mercury is, it comes from fishes like tuna, tilapia. It just makes me so hungry. But anyways, it heavily dissipates in my body, and it should do the same to you too, because I'm a heavy guy, and it should. Okay. If you're still not convinced, I have this photo. Concerned about formaldehyde in vaccines, consider the pear. 200 grams of pear equals 12,000 UG of formaldehyde naturally. Vaccines only contain 100, which is probably under 1%. Myth 2, autism is a one that blocks success. Okay, here's something that I am really strong in this presentation. Personally, when someone thinks that autism hinders success because you see someone with I don't want to say, like, how can I put this? A lower functioning form of autism, they will think, how is this kid going to succeed in their life? How is he going to do the things that I can do but he cannot? Well, here's one thing. With the proper accommodations and early intervention, you could easily help a child out with autism pretty easily. You gotta have some proper goal settings and the accommodations, you know? Like, if someone has an issue, you gotta give them the help. Therapeutic needs with speech and language, individualized education environments. Sometimes some educational environments are kind of brutal for a kid with autism. So a small room will be perfect. And then IEP goals. Well, if you want to talk more about an IEP, I'm willing to answer any questions after the presentation. Famous people diagnosed with autism. If you're still not convinced that you can still succeed with autism, then there must be something wrong with you. Dan Aykroyd, we know him, one of the Ghostbusters men, you know, in the New York Department firehouse from the 1900s, and hunting ghosts, and the Marshmallow Man. He tastes so freaking good. Anyways, thank you for destroying that marshmallow monster. But seriously, outside of his Ghostbuster career, his wife thought he was too obsessive with ghosts, so in the late 80s, his wife actually made an appointment with a doctor, and actually Dan Aykroyd was diagnosed with autism in the late 80s, in his late 40s. Tumble Brandon. Well, she's one of the more important figures in autism awareness. As you can see, she's an animal science professor at Colorado State University and activist for autistic rights. So she wrote many books regarding autistic rights, but besides that, she is an animal science professor at a pretty prominent college in Colorado, you know? Something to be accomplished at Temple. Thank you, Temple. Okay, this one might seem a bit skeptical since the 1600s did not have the technology that we do. Isaac Newton was an English physicist who participated in the scientific revolution in Europe of the 1600s. You know, the revolution that gave you the iPhone, the computer, and the screen that helps me to do my TED Talk presentation. To consider that he's diagnosed with autism, you guys will be like, how can he create these inventions that's possible for us to use today? Well, just like what I said earlier, he could just have simple social skills issues. He never really had any friends. It's kind of sad. He's a cool guy. These balls, they're awesome. You can get one from Sharper Image for only $20. And then the last myth. This myth has kind of defined my life somewhat. Can autism be cured? When you say a high-functioning person with autism, I don't want to name names, but me, you will think, oh, he's cured with all the, rehabilitation programs, accommodations, the environment that he was in. You cannot cure autism. You cannot really cure anything that's like genetic. You cannot alter genetics unless if you were in a nuclear accident. Maybe that's a cure, but that's really unrealistic. Actually, finding a cure for autism could create more discrimination against not just the autistic community, but within the disabled community. Like someone from a wheelchair, like just physically handicapped, to a person with Alzheimer's. It could actually create a lot of discrimination because you are forcing them to fit into a society which they feel strongly against to conform into. So how can you succeed? Well, autism is just a difference for me. It might not be a difference for some people, it might be an actual condition, but to make the condition less of a condition and more of a difference, and just a mere label, here are some things I've stated earlier. The accommodations, I will go more in depth in them. Small groups. Raise your hand if you're distracted in a class of 30 people. All right. I feel the same way too. So a child with autism will function a lot better in a small group because there won't be a lot of kids distracting you, throwing apples at your head, throwing bagels or whatever. Some people do that constantly, Time extensions on tests. Another question. How many of you did not finish your test in time? Okay. A child with autism might not be able to finish 50% of the test within the time limit, so the time extension might seem like common sense. And then periodic breaks. Raise your hand if you're just done with life. A child with autism can succeed with periodic breaks. Discipline. This one might seem a bit mean, but the way how I use discipline is not like, hey, you get back to work right now. Get back to work. So what I mean by discipline is that you need to have a proper goal setting for a child to succeed with autism. So you need to have a goal that seems accomplishable at first. And then you need to have faith once you feel like you can succeed in a goal. And then lastly, you need to have a need on why do I need to succeed? And then lastly, this is another important factor for, curing autism. Just kidding, but a nurturing environment. Another important factor for success is to be surrounded with people that you can chill with. It's not about that though. They need to be good people. You need to be in good terms with them. You need to not only have a good common interest, but they need to help you, but you need to help them in return. That's what respect is. And the proverb that we've known through preschool is, if you want respect, treat others with respect. So what have we learned? Autism does not have any correlation with vaccination. It's just a difference on how to succeed, because who wants to be the same person? I know I don't want to. So it's just a difference, a label for some people. A condition with a huge range of variations, thus creating a diverse demographics. Just like what I keep on saying, not every person with autism will be high functioning, nor be lower functioning with assistance throughout their life. Your pair is deadly. Okay, that is what I call a good BS. We just disproven that, come on. And then a life story that will remind you of autism awareness, because people have called me the R word many times, but be careful when you say the R word to a person with autism. I highly doubt you would say these words, because I can tell all of you are awesome people. But just in case if you do, just be careful. Just like what I said earlier, I'm an AP student that has an 85 average, and some of these people haven't done well in their lives. And then my very, very last slide that may seem irrelevant, but if you really do care about autism awareness, I do run a club every Tuesdays at room 133, the Education Enrichment Club. We'll go in depth on these topics if you want to participate. Thank you very much.